and to tell the rest of the world Islam and Muslims, they are filthy, they are devils, they are dirty, they are heathens, they want to kill you, they want to dominate the world, they are like vermin, they are like rats, and we have to be careful of them so that when they destroy the Muslim lands and enter the Muslim lands and rob and pillage the Muslims and rape the non-Muslims in those lands, they won't say anything, because they will say they are just rats and they are just vermin and they are just terrorists and they are fanatics and we have to control them in some way. That's what they do it for. But the issue is, we Muslims, we are right in their faces. We are working with them. We are going to school with them. We are living with them. Our children are being taught by them. And we are eating with them and smiling with them and enjoying their civilization and asking them for asylum and safety. And we are changing our names and bowing our heads as if to say, you are right about what you say about us. But so long as you don't bother me and allow me to become strong and enjoy your society, it's okay. Because silence is consent. If a man came to ask you for your daughter in marriage, if you didn't like him and he was inappropriate for your daughter, but he asked for her hand in marriage and she was present and you said nothing and she said nothing, it means you have accepted. And so the Muslims who say nothing, they have accepted the condition by silence. And by silence they have become in complicity. That means you have been added to the list of people who support what they say by your silence. Now, to do other than silence doesn't mean we have the right to act as criminals. We don't ever have the right to act as criminals. We don't have the right to violate the law. We don't have the right to act in a way in which the Prophet ﷺ did not act. We don't have the right to curse them. We don't have the right to publicly disrespect them. We don't have the right to bomb or to rob or to steal or to disobey the civil laws. We don't have the right to do that, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't give the companions who went to Habash, he didn't give them that right. Even though that king, he was a Christian, he was a mushrik, he didn't give them the right to disobey him civilly. He didn't give the right to Muslims to disrespect him. So I am not suggesting in any way that Muslims living as minorities have the right to publicly disrespect, disobey the civil law, not to act as citizens. We must. But we have to use our individual right, our individual resources, our individual vote, our individual support and dignity, and our collective person to say, no, we don't support that policy. No, what you're saying is a lie. No. Islam is a system established by Allah, verified by the Quran, manifested by the life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Islam is a better way. And Muslims in their lands are sacred, and that their blood is sacred. And the taking of the Muslim blood and the occupying of their lands is a criminal act. we have to say it. Now there is an issue, we say, of terrorism. We don't have to discuss Islam versus terrorism, because Islam supports nothing other than itself. الاسلام استسلام لله بالتوحيد والانقياد له بالطاعة. Al-Islam is nothing other than istislam, submission to Allah and His legislation, according to the rules of monotheism. وَالْإِنْقِيَادُ لَهُ بِطَاعَةِ, and surrendering to His Sharia, to His ahkam, without any reservation. Completely surrendering with obedience. This is Islam. And Islam has its sources, which can never be changed until the day of judgment. And that is the Quran, and that is the Sunnah. So that is one side. Now terrorism is something else. But to treat this issue properly and objectively, we first need to define what is terrorism. No one can make their own definition of terrorism, because the definition doesn't change from day to day and time to time and place to place. An apple is an apple in China, and it does not become an orange in America. And a president of the United States, or a president of Europe state, or president of Australia, or president of any country doesn't change the name of terrorism or the meaning of it because of his idea. It is a definition, and according to the language, it has to remain a definition. So if we go to any English dictionary, take the Funk and Wagner, take Webster's, take the Oxford, the highest classical dictionaries in the world for the English language, and see what is the definition of terrorism. Not a definition that just came 70 years ago. Not the definition which just came 50 years ago or 20 years ago. Not the definition that the Americans give, or that the British give, or the Australians give, or the French give, or the Germans give. Not a special definition. No, let's go back to the definition which the Oxford, the Webster, the Funk and Wagner dictionary has given for the last 200 years. The definition of terrorism. And listen very carefully, because after we get the definition, we're going to speak about some actions which have been done in the last 200 years since this definition has been made, and you will tell me, is this actions of terrorism or is it not? It says, terrorism, the act of protracted or spontaneous inflicting of systematic attacks and assaults and intrusions upon individuals and places within human populations with the purpose of instilling fear and trauma. Let me read it again, so there is no mistake. The act of spontaneous or protracted infliction of systematic attacks and assaults upon individuals and places within human populations with the purpose of instilling fear and trauma. Now let us examine the last 200 years. Before there was this so-called politicized